Right, so going to show you how to use Indirect on Excel. So have a look at this. What we've got is, as you should know, if you actually want to find, say, a value over here, we can do something simple like an equals, and we can just go and pick the value that we want. And that's the simple, easy way of doing a cell reference. However, sometimes we want it to be a bit more dynamic. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type over here K5, and this time I'm going to use the indirect. Now, you'll see what indirect does is it uses the value in a cell as the cell reference. As long as it is a valid letter, number, cell reference within Excel, it will actually go and find the value. And as you can see, if we change that to J5, it brings back the alternative. However, sometimes, again, that might just seem very long-winded and doesn't really help, but I'll show you how it can be made useful. If I type in equals here, and I'm going to do an if, and up here I actually have a little drop down that says product and cost. I'm going to say if this is equal to product, I want it to actually refer to J5. Otherwise, I want it to refer to K5. Now, as I change this value here, you'll see that the indirect is actually picking up a different cell reference. So I'm getting a bit more flexibility here. I said, as you start expanding and making very complex spreadsheets, this indirect function becomes very, very useful. It can also actually be used, you can actually concatenate separate references as well. So I'll just show you how that works as well. If I do a J5 here, and I do K5 here, and I'm going to go down one, and I'm going to do equal to indirect, and I'm just going to indirect, and then I'm going to put concatenate. Now, concatenate is where you basically join strings together, join characters together. And there we go. Can you see it's actually concatenated those values together and picked up that? If I change that to 6 now, as you can see it goes down. It'll actually update itself every single time. It's useful because instead of going back into here and physically playing around with the actual cell reference identity, I can just control it using this. In fact, I can even obviously move around a lot further. I can actually force it to look somewhere else. So it's very useful for that. It's very, very useful for controlling where you actually point a cell reference. Great thing is as well, you can actually even do it across to a different sheet as well. So again, if I do an indirect, and this time I'm going to say sheet 1, and that exclamation mark is just so that Excel knows it's another sheet that I'm looking for. Okay, then I'll do a comma, and then I'm going to obviously do, I think it was A, I need to put quotation marks around that. I think it was A2 I was after. And I'll wrap my concatenate around that. Now, there we go. So at the moment it's pointing to that word product up here. So if I wanted it to go to somewhere else, I'll obviously do a 3. There we go. Then you can even go one stage further than that. If I change this now to A4, as you can see, we get a sort of, it's trying to point to here now, but this one is where I'm really interested in. Instead of having A and 3 in there, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to point up to that one. And there we go. As you can see, it's actually referring to this now. As you see, indirect is really, really useful. And you can even do multiple concatenations, mix it into if statements so that the indirect uses different cell references as you go along. You could also go concatenate multiple cell references. So if you have different sheets you want to look at in certain situations, it can do. Okay, there we go. Quick tutorial on indirect. Tell me what you think. Thanks very much for watching.